Hello, everyone. My name is Dylan Peck, and I'm going to be talking about drug courts and alternative sentencing, transforming justice for substance abuse. What is drug court and alternative sentencing? Drug court is an alternative sentencing program where low-level offenders can have their sentences vacated or expunged if they successfully complete court-ordered meetings, drug rehabilitation treatment, random drug tests, and appear before a judge to check on their progress. Although they vary according to state and local guidelines, participants usually stay in the program for a minimum of 1 year. There are currently 35 adult and 26 juvenile drug courts in Ohio. What are drug courts? Why are drug courts and alternative sentencing important? They offer rehabilitative approach to drug-related offenses. It reduces recidivism by limiting repeat offenders. Recidivism, that is the relapse that people who do drugs, when they go back to doing those drugs that they used to do in the past, that's the relapse, the recidivism, and that's what drug courts and alternative sentencing trying to get rid of. It is also a less expensive option than jail time and gives people the help they need to successfully rejoin society, which is the same idea as reducing the relapse, because that just helps them come back to society and not pick up where they left off. The historical background: the war on drugs, 1970s to the 1980s. Strict punishments caused jails to be overcrowded and repeat offenders. Drug courts began in 1989 in Miami-Dade County, Florida, where the first drug court opened. It meant to cut down on repeat offenses and help people with drug abuse problems. The key policies: the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986, which made punishments harder. The Drug Court Grant Program, which began in 1994, which gives federal money to drug courts. Important laws and court rulings: the Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 set up drug courts with money from the government. Decisions of the Supreme Court: National Institute of Justice versus Turner in 2001 upheld the constitutional base of drug courts. And the latest developments: Second Chance Act of 2008, which encourages programs that helps people enter society. And the RED program for eliminating racial disparity in the drug court system assessment tool. Racial and Ethnic Disparities Program Assessment Tool is designed to capture information about treatment courts' operations and procedures, with an emphasis on examining areas where racial and ethnic disparities may exist in their courts. The goals of the RED tool is to raise awareness about racial and ethnic disparities in treatment courts, assisting courts identify racial and ethnic disparities in their systems and processes, and offering recommendations on alleviating racial and ethnic disparities. The public attitudes over time. From the 1980s to the 1990s, there was a focus on harsh punishments and making criminals look bad. Back then, drug-related offenses were looked at as horrible things, which is why they had such harsh punishments and they made criminals look bad. They believed that people who did drugs and had drug-related crimes that they were sick people and that they were like non-American, and they gave all these stereotypes and classified people who did drugs and took some kind of drugs or substances, but and then they just threw them in jail as a punishment instead of getting them the help that they may need or that they need. From the 2000s to now, addiction is becoming more and more seen as a public health problem, and there's a stronger support for recovery over jail time. This is the switch from back then, when they would just punish people for their offenses of drug-related problems, but now we see it as more of a public health problem, meaning that we want to give people the help they need and deserve to bring them back into society, instead of just loading them, throwing them in jail, and then when they get out, sometimes they end up doing the same thing again. But if we can help them, properly help them, then they can rejoin society. Relevance. As stated in Law and Society, incarceration has been declining in effectiveness as a crime control tactic since before 1980. Rehabilitation of offenders takes care of the disease and repeat offenders. Some drug courts violate core tenets of the model by targeting the wrong participants, bearing use of medication-assisted treatment, paying insufficient attention to racial and ethnic disparities, and overusing jail sanctions. This is from the WATCP website, which is a professional organization representing interests of treatment courts in Wisconsin. Their mission is to empower and inspire courts and communities to deliver transformative justice. And their goal is to reduce substance abuse, crime, and recidivism by promoting and advocating the establishment and funding of treatment courts, and providing for collection and dissemination of information and technical assistance and mutual support to associate members. The goal is to produce drug court graduates who can safely enter society as a complete, functioning member of the community. How drug courts relates to the justice system. It draws attention to the change from punishment to recovery. It deals with structural problems like overcrowding in prisons, and shows that society recognizes addiction as a sickness. In conclusion, the drug courts, they are designed to help people quickly get back to society in a safe manner and a healthy manner. They're also designed to with the best interests of the individual in mind, because a lot of times people may get humiliated and embarrassed in a normal court system, but if they have own private drug courts and offer them in more places, then people with these kind of problems and everything, they can go see help and get help in a private manner instead of a public manner like it used to be back in the day. And these are my resources.